Hey, it's Jessie. Today on the show, you know her from Blue Lagoon, Suddenly Susan, Lipstick Jungle. She has a new show out on AMC Acorn called You're Killing Me. It is the icon herself, Brooke Shields.
I mean, you know, I practically have Suddenly Susan on a loop in the house going, Mom was funny, watch your mother be funny.
This is Dinners on Me, and I'm your host, Jesse Tyler Ferguson. So today we're at Cafe Cluny, where I have been coming to for years here in New York City. It's definitely a West Village institution, known for its reliable take on classics, but done with a French twist. The French brioche toast is incredible. The French omelet. I always seem to lean toward the frisée salad. Every time I'm here, I see an A-lister, a West Village A-lister. And so I thought, yes, this is the perfect place to bring my friend Brooke Shields, because you can't get more A-list than Brooke Shields. All right, let's get to the conversation. I was just going through my phone and I found the photos, because I feel like
you were just having your baby
in Puerto Rico. I was just about to have my baby. I feel like we had met before, probably very briefly, but we had never really connected.
No.
And Justin and I were sitting in Puerto Rico. You were on vacation with your family.
Uh-huh.
And I remember I had stickers on my iPods because Justin and I have the exact same iPod cases, and so I was like, these are mine, these are his. So I just put stickers on, and you came over and you're like, oh, do you have kids?
Oh,
are these,
yeah.
This was your icebreaker. And I was like, oh no, but ironically I'm about to have a kid in 6 months. And we ended up having we celebrated New Year's Eve together.
Yeah.
I gotta show you these photos, Brooke. We look so cute.
We were we were so happy. And we had those things on our head.
Good.
Yes. I was so happy for you guys. I remember being super excited for you.
I know.
And
it was
babies.
Babies were coming, and now we have 2.
And then you sent me your announcement. I wasn't in LA.
Yes.
I couldn't go to that, but
I know, for the baby shower.
Yeah.
But what's so crazy is right before, those were months before COVID. Everything shut down. And I remember the next time I saw you, you were recovering from a broken femur.
Oh man, it was one of the worst experiences of my life.
I
so
know.
glad I'm alive.
Yes, I mean, you had a cane.
I know, and that was good.
I know.
That was after being in hospital for a month.
Insane. It's mind blowing to me that something so I know you were just on an exercise.
Yeah, on a balance
thing, and you flew up in the air, but I mean something like that could happen so fast, but also that you were recovering so quickly too. I mean, I know it probably felt like an eternity for you, and then to do it during COVID when everything was wacky with going to a hospital and seeing doctors.
Doing rehab by Zoom. It's surreal.
Yeah.
I was feeling so invisible because it's COVID, and I thought, oh my God, if this is it, if this is it, I have to go out registering somehow. And so I started listening intently, not just to my diagnoses as they were talking, so that I could ask good questions, but I remembered something about each of the nurses, because they switched shifts every 20 minutes or something, you get different people.
Yeah.
And so I would remember one thing about each of them, and then the next time I'd say, hey, how was your son's second year birthday on Zoom? Was it fun at all? And they'd be like, oh, well, yes, and his grandmother sent us a blah, 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 blah. And so they were humanized.
Yes.
And then I became a person instead of a body in a bed. And I mean, granted, I was young enough to, and a lot of the people on that floor,
Right.
the people who are breaking hips and femurs are not my age.
Right.
They're older. And I became really aware and intent of everything the doctors were saying, and would remember it and ask them about it the next day, and they were like, are you Googling? I was like, I'm not WebMDing anything, because if I do, I will have everything in there.
Right.
I will be dying.
Right.
I will be convinced I am dying.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not stupid enough to go look at WebMD.
Catastrophizing, yeah. Do you feel like you came out of that process, changed? It sounds like even just that exercise of trying to connect with people, which is not groundbreaking concept, but it is like, you know, in that time when we were so separated from one another and, you know, you are feeling invisible, like what a beautiful thing to do, to just remember like, oh, human connection is like a great healer in itself.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always felt that because I think for obvious reasons, I guess, I'm always like instantly isolated. Like I'm reminded of that scene in, last year at Marienbad. It was a French film and it was very avant-garde, and it was the first time I'd ever seen a reverse zoom. So we're also programmed to see this and then go into that.
Closer.
This started here and just zoomed out, and it was like, as a cinematic tool, it really struck me. And like I wrote a paper on it, and I was like, oh, I often feel that way. Like, even like, especially in a crowd of people, I instantly am like it's, I'm on display or there's something in there. So I think that I've understood from an early on that break the ice immediately, or say, you know, hey, I like that shirt. You know, and kind of get people like, well, thank you, it was my, you know, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, now maybe they can just at least see me.
Yes.
Hear me. You know what I mean? Like, you get used to it. Because I think the opposite or the alternative is complete isolation.
Right.
You know, just get smaller and tighter and stick to, because it's all too much.
Right.
And I didn't want to, I could do that really easily.
But it's interesting that you kind of had to consciously keep that in check. Because I feel like, you know, so many people just cannot relate to being someone who's been in the public eye as long as you have. I mean, I've been in the public eye for a lot of years, but like not since I was, you know, preteen. I mean, it's very intense.
11. Yeah,
11. That was your first, I mean, you know, and obviously working even before that, but like...
But I wasn't cognizant at 11 months old.
Sure, right.
Like by 12, and people are trying to cut your hair off at the Cannes Film Festival, you're like, oh, this is not for me.
Right.
You know, so... But there's another thing about that, though, which, because I've grappled with trying to reconcile it, and there's nothing to do about it, right? It just is.
Right.
But also, like, I never knew relative anonymity.
Right.
So it's something that, whether you choose it or not, that you haven't been robbed of something that you really treasured in a way.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought about it that way.
And then that's the way I kind of psychoanalyze things, because otherwise you just will go crazy. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like you can start feeling victimized, which is the worst.
Right.
You know, you can all of a sudden start pitying yourself and losing sight of the blessings that do come with being whatever that thing is. What does it afford you? For me, if it affords me more opportunity to work, then it's worth everything. Because I'm not interested in fame or that. Like, that's nothing I ever coveted. I coveted doing more work and getting an opportunity to keep learning and growing as a talent, which I didn't really have much opportunity when I was coming up, because I became famous so fast that it was just sort of all about that.
Right.
Pardon my interruption. Did you two need some more time with the menu?
I usually get the frisée salad. I think I might do that.
The frisée?
Yeah.
Would you like an extra poached egg on there?
No, I think just one's fine.
Perfect.
I think I'll do the omelet.
Wonderful.
Spinach, tomato, Gruyere, and mixed greens, please.
Mixed greens? Wonderful. How do you like
Maybe
it?
a mushroom in there is fine too.
Just one mushroom.
Just one little
Just
baby mushroom.
Just
one little lonely mushroom. A baby mushroom.
Do you like your omelet soft, medium, or well done?
Well done, please.
Well done?
Thank you.
Fabulous.
No, and then the other piece of it, which I've kind of understood lately, is that, like, as an actress, and an aging one, you age out pretty quickly, right? In a way. I mean, yes, there are more roles being written for my age group, and with a lot of my contemporaries that are working a lot more, and yes, we're seeing that more, so that's positively changing. But if I didn't have this other element of being a commodity, I probably wouldn't be able to live as well as I do. Because I can ferret out money-making gigs that don't jeopardize my career, like my work, right? That's my mom. Like, that's my mom sort of wanting, like, look, we can get a car if we do this. We can get a better apartment if we do this. It was all transactional to get a better life.
Right.
So in a way, that doesn't nurture a career or a talent, because, after Pretty Baby, or after, let's say, Blue Lagoon, right? My next move wasn't a Natalie Portman move, which was go on Broadway and play Anne Frank.
Right.
That creates you as a thespian, as a actress. I had Brooke dolls and hair dryers with my name on them, and was doing kind of, shitty TV movies, like, because then we got to go on vacation. Like, so it was there was no plan, but in hindsight, it has afforded me a nice life.
Yeah.
And better schools for my kids, like all of those things that I now go, oh, I don't resent that anymore, because in this era of my life, I can use it probably till I'm however old.
Yeah. Did you ever feel that? Do you remember feeling when you were younger that you wish you had more opportunities like that? Did you yearn for that?
All the time. Obsessively.
Yeah.
And it would always be like between me and Uma Thurman. And for Dangerous Liaisons, it's like they brought me through the ringer for that one. And then for, all these different, I don't think I was in the Raising Arizona one, but there were all those
conversations that you were part of.
And that you went up for, went out for. And then I was always just a little not sexy enough, or too famous, or too well known, and I would unbalance the ensemble. So I couldn't be in an ensemble because
you're too much of let's face it, an icon.
All those things, and so I was just constant I must be not good enough, because if I was good enough, I'd be able to get those things, and I'm not good enough, and then thank God for college, because I found myself in college.
Right.
Intellectually and emotionally differently. So, but then when I got out of college, and nobody, I couldn't get arrested. So it's just been a really interesting, ongoing kind of dialogue in my head.
Right.
But I always felt, I was even seeing Jessica the other night, she came up to me, she saw me and she went, Brooke,
Jessica Lange,
get me a hug. And I was just, I could not speak.
Yeah.
I was like, hi, Mrs. Lange.
I know.
I was like, and part of that is because she's just, oh my God, but, and just amazing in every way. But also, these are the women that I was like, whoa, if I could just be like that and get respected for my work, for my talent, and then maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe that's it. That's got to be it, because if I was good enough, it's like living with an alcoholic. You're like, I can make them stop.
Right.
If I'm just good enough, that mommy will stop or daddy will stop, whatever. It's it's the same crazy making, unending, never getting that approval, because it's not possible. Right? So I really had to, and thank God for comedy. Thank God for Suddenly Susan. Thank God for Friends.
Right.
Friends just blew it open, and I didn't have any problem being a comedian opposed to a serious actress, which was at that point kind of those two things.
Right.
You were either
you pick a lane.
Well, you were either television or film.
Right.
And then you were either comedian or serious.
Because so when you're talking about having gone to college and, you know, focusing on your career and also your independence, I know that was a time when you sort of like were able to separate from, you know, being under your mom's roof at all times, and I know that was also a very difficult thing for her to like let you go. I can only imagine. I mean, you're going through this now with your kids, so you must have some empathy, like what it feels like to like have your children go out into the world. I mean,
it's horrible.
I can't even. My kids are so much younger than yours are right now, but like, I mean, I can't even fathom how hard that must be.
Seeing them in the rearview mirror as you're driving away from college is like a gut-wrenching experience.
Do you have empathy for your mom, having now processed?
I've always had empathy for my mom.
Yes, I know.
mean, like, she, of all people,
but that's
she probably
specifically
needed
like
empathy.
letting you go.
Because you know what? That was the most, and I wouldn't say my mom was selfish, but she was very scared and scarred. And so with that, there was this desperate, her whole world was tied up in my love of her. And my being hers.
Yeah.
You know, and it was such a source of, like, there was never going to be any letting go, because why?
Yeah.
You know, but when I begged to come home, because I could not believe how homesick I was. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was so shocked with how, and I thought, what am I doing?
When you went to Princeton, right? Yeah.
I was like, what am I doing? This is stupid. I just keep working. Like, why would I do this to myself? And, you know, the joke was I was about a summer away from becoming Grey Gardens. Right?
A summer away. That's so good.
And then she said to me, you'll never forgive yourself if you give up. She goes, you're not a quitter. She goes, remember the hula hoop. And I'd won a hula hoop contest when I was 9, never having hula hooped. And it was on the stage of Greece for their 100th performance. And I got up on stage and I won. And I got to meet the cast and get a vinyl record signed.
Wait, this is when you went to see Grease on Broadway?
When I was 9.
And then you went and played Brazil later.
20 years.
Full circle moments. Okay. That's the universe saying you're doing the right thing, by the way.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, so you won a hula hoop contest at age 9. Your mom says, remember the hula hoop contest. Don't quit.
Don't quit. And she just wrote, remember the hula hoop. And she said, you'll never forgive yourself. So she kind of forced me to stay, which for her was the beginning of the end. Because that was the beginning of my real individuation from her.
Right.
And she never planned for it, I don't think, emotionally.
That's really tough.
You know, yeah, because you feel beholden, you know?
Yeah.
But I also knew kind of how broken she was, and I thought I could do both. But she was very gracious in the most painful way for her. And you would have thought, because all she wanted was to go back to the way it was. You know, and I just give her a lot of
just the two
credit.
Of you working and her managing you.
And traveling.
Traveling.
Having fabulous experiences.
Reaping the benefits of hard work and
And I mean, what we didn't know is, I think, just era-wise, even if I had stayed, I was not on the right trajectory for kind of improvement.
Right.
You know, because we didn't have a lot to hold on to except for fame at that point, you know. So I think those 4 years gave me a perspective enough to say, okay, I have to go about all of this differently. And it just took, you know, it took a turn, because my next move was to leave her as a manager and go to an agency, which I'd never been with before. And you know, finding out later that, like, Sam Cohen wanted to represent me when I was like 14 or 15 or something, but he wanted my mom out of the picture. I never knew this.
Right.
I didn't know this until she died.
How would you? I mean.
Yeah. And my godmother told me. And I was like, so he did think I had talent. So all these years, I thought I was rejected by him because I wasn't talented. Meanwhile, I know that type of validation doesn't necessarily mean the world, but it did to me, because he was a big agent of really great actors, you know.
Right.
So I was under the impression that I was going to come out of college a smart actress, and that Hollywood was going to be like, oh, great, and now she's intelligent. This is a trifecta. You know what I mean? We've got looks, fame, intelligence, hopefully talent. And they were like, oh, no, we wanted you kind of dumb. Like, the press were like mad. It was weird. They were weirdly...
the vapid version of you.
They couldn't manipulate me in the same way. So instead of struggling through answering their questions like I used to, I would say, I don't think that that's what we're here to talk about. I mean, if you want to talk about... And they would be like, oh, she's not malleable anymore.
Right.
Oh, we don't like her that way.
And also, didn't like Time write an op-ed, or the New York Times write an op-ed about your...
My mom. That was... The op-ed was about my mom.
Oh, it was about your mom. But something about your scores at Princeton.
Life magazine.
Life magazine.
Printed my entire academic record from Princeton. I mean, I was thankful that I only got one, B minus or B.
I mean,
it was God, it was like almost all A's.
The grades were impressive, but still, it's insane.
It's insane. Well, but I mean, it's also insane that Barbara Walters asked me my measurements. Like, wow, like people are, what?
Did you ever encounter her again, like when you did The View or anything later in later years?
I did.
Did you ever sense her ever kind of I mean, when you know someone that long and you're in the media and you've seen them grow up, in the public eye, and then you're years later at the end of your career, right? I'm talking about Barbara Walters, not you, but on The View.
Thanks for asking me on your podcast, Jesse.
But Barbara Walters now, in this the twilight of her career and on The View, and I mean, in having you on, I'm sure as a guest at that point, there was no sort of acknowledgement of I've seen you through this.
Oh no, because that's not in her nature. I mean. Yeah, I think also it's I took everything personally, and I kind of still do. I'm much better now at not letting it affect me so much. But these women were when women had any power,
right?
And they were in a male world,
right.
They weren't thinking about me at all. I mean,
that's a very generous. Response. No, I think it is because you also lived through that and had to as a young kid go through the media machine, and that's just got to be hard in itself.
But also, what Barbara in particular did. She, and God rest her soul, she her big thing, especially on The View, was Brooke and I go way back. All of a sudden, my presence had more currency in the View scenario than it ever did on the way.
Right.
So it was oh, I'm famous and still relevant somehow in her mind or whatever, because I'm on there for something.
Yeah.
I'm working or whatever.
And you do go way back.
And it was validating. It was so interesting to sit there and going oh, she's needing validation in front of these ladies. It doesn't end. I don't care who you are. There is that. I mean, I don't know if an Oprah feels that way. Maybe she's in a different world, or Diane. I mean, she's been through loss. So I think that makes people a little more human. But it was really interesting to me because I was wow, I've come from that in your mind where you were. I mean, the discomfort that I felt at age 15, and you see it on my face, standing up, kind of being compared to this woman in measurements, and I stand up. I did it. I didn't brush it off or anything. If someone asked me that now, I'd come back with some kind of a quip.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would say, but it would be.
You have agency, and you have,
right.
You have a sense of possession of yourself now in a way that you just don't when you're that age.
No, and my mom was sitting right there, and I think she probably had already been drinking, but because I know her face, but she didn't even register that as slightly inappropriate because her thing was, as long as they're talking about you, it doesn't matter what they say. keep, we're on Barbara Walters. You are my shining, thing, my baby. So it didn't matter. Like, it wasn't, also that wasn't the era where people thought that was weird.
Well, first of all, the documentary is really, I'm really impressed that, first of all, you were so willing to be so open. And also, it's just astonishing to macro out and look at your career, because it is really impressive, and you've been through so much, and it's kind of miraculous knowing, because I've gotten to know you as an adult, and I think you're one of the most level-headed people I've ever met in my life. And I was like, how did this happen? You're such a wonderful, generous, caring, compassionate person, and I was like, you have every excuse to not be even just a fraction less than what you are, and yet you aren't. And anyway, but in the documentary, it's Pretty Baby. Brooke Shields is the name of the documentary. It's a 2-part series, and I had watched it years ago when it first came out. We watched it before our conversation, but there's a really interesting conversation that happens at the end of the movie with you and your family around the kitchen table in your brownstone that I've been in, and your daughter's talking about your work and kind of, analyzing it. I'm trying to think of the right words. Judging it a bit.
Yeah.
But also, you're really great about hearing what they're saying, not making excuses for it, but at the same time, not apologizing for it, because that's what happened. I loved hearing that conversation about what your daughters and what this generation how they respond to those films. And also, they hadn't seen any of them. No. They were just talking about it from the information that they had.
And then Greer saying, I'm never going to see any of those movies ever.
Has she seen any of them? Still hasn't?
None of them. I mean, I practically have Suddenly Susan on a loop in the house going, Mom, what's funny? Watch your mother be funny. What was amazing about that scene was it wasn't planned. We were supposed to just do B-roll. It was just going to be B-roll and have music, for before the credits, this is her life now, and it's not a complete tragedy. And Lana, director, asked one question: have you ever seen any of your mom's movies? So one question she asked. We were loved, and that was the question she asked, and that whole conversation happened. My first reaction when I even saw it after was, thank God your children aren't afraid of being judged for having an opinion. Even if that opinion is possibly judgmental to you, or possibly not hurtful, but it could be kind of make you feel something bad, right? And I was really proud of that, because it didn't happen just in the moment. It happened over the course of their whole lives. Asking their opinion, having them voice it, having it not be a right or wrong, but an opinion. And having been a kid who was never asked her opinion, just didn't factor in. I didn't even know I had an opinion until I went to college. So intellectually, I didn't know these kids thought anything of this. And then seeing Pretty Baby, the film, I did not prepare Greer enough. And the first screening of it, she left in the middle.
You're talking about Pretty Baby?
The documentary.
The documentary.
So it's all been so compartmentalized, and our life with our children in New York has been so a life in New York with children. It hasn't been Hollywood, and it hasn't, even when I was doing Lipstick Jungle, I was in the city, but I was there for the morning and there for bedtime. And so it was just sort of mommy has a job. But when they were talking about all of the things that you couldn't do today and that it was exploitation, I never wanted to own up to any of that, because I felt like it was going against my mom. I needed to stay on her side. The other part was, I don't feel scarred from it. it really was pretend.
Right.
You know, and you remember the Keith Carradine thing where I had to kiss him.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like freaked out.
Yes.
I kind of felt like this.
Yeah.
And Louis Malle was getting madder and madder at me.
The director was. Yeah.
And he was like, no, that was Endless Love.
Right. The twisting of the foot.
The other European director, twisting of the toe.
But you were scratching your face.
I was like, oh, I don't want to. And he generously, he was like 28. He said, can I talk to her for a minute? And I was 11, you know, and he said, you know, this doesn't count as a first kiss. And I went, it doesn't? He's like, this? All of this? Ah. He goes, this is pretend. It means absolutely nothing. None of it. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I can act this. So I, you know, closed my eyes lightly and, you know, and that was everything to me. So, like, those little moments solidified this belief that it was literally just acting.
I love that you're on TV again. I got to watch the first 2 episodes of your new show.
You did?
I did, yeah.
Oh.
It took me forever to figure out how to stream these shows with like a second authenticator.
No, it's impossible.
It's impossible, but I did it.
Oh, thank you.
That's what you're telling me. It's so great. It's so much fun.
It's so much fun.
On AMC?
AMC Acorn, yeah. You know, these shows, you know, you shoot them in Canada. The goal is to sell them internationally as well. And there's a formula. And, you know, this whole sort of world of Only Murders in the Building or Murder, She Wrote or, you know, there's this affinity for these things. But these shows, they can really tie your hands if you're not, like, creatively voice your opinion and really, and from day one, they have allowed me to be funny and do things that are not cool. You know, me climbing into a window with my, you know, butt hanging out, whatever, like, whatever those things are that previously in some of these environments, they've been like, no, it makes you too unlikable. Or, oh no, you're too pretty to be funny like that. And you're just like, you finally go like, no, the reason why this is appealing is because this character looks the way she does, and then she falls on her face. Yeah. And it's not slapsticky, jokey, but it's intelligent, self-deprecating without being self-diminishing humor. And I said, the only way a show like this is going to differentiate itself at all in a sea of these mystery, the Irish Bloods and this one going to England and Ireland and everybody solving mysteries everywhere, and you know, it's like, and there's a murder every week, and oh my God, it's like in a small town, and I mean, the
coastal town,
the coastal teeny sleepy town, and you know, a fishing town, and so you kind of have to go, guys, you have to think outside the box for this, because it's not enjoyable for me. You're not using me appropriately, so lean into that, so that when we get to the dramatic stuff, it matters.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just maudlin and boring.
Right. I mean, it's also like a formula that worked really well on some of these seasons too. I mean, I feel like that's what I remember so much about that. It was ran for 4 seasons, and I was an avid watcher, and I loved it. But just like watching, you know, you be ridiculous, and you know, you're such a great physical comedian, which also then like parlayed its way. I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg with this, but like I think, you know, that was also the time that like you started doing Broadway and like
well, like Grease came at the right time, and that was when stunt casting really hadn't happened.
Right.
So, you know, they weren't putting famous non-Broadway people into these lead roles. You know, Rosie was kind of the first. Rosie O'Donnell played Rizzo.
Right.
I replaced her.
Right.
And that opened up a whole new world where they realized, oh, we can get a name in there, keep the show open through the holidays, make their nut or whatever. But then I got Friends. And the day after I got Friends, it was like my Lana Turner moment. The next day, my agents called and they were like, how would you like to do your own sitcom? I was like,
So that stemmed off of that Friends appearance.
because Marta Kaufman didn't let me do the crazy laugh.
Yes, you talk about this in the documentary, Shed Love,
Yeah.
because it's such a testament also of like big swings pay off. So you were playing Matt LeBlanc's crazy
Stalker
girlfriend.
Yeah.
And yeah, you talk about how you did this crazy laugh and like kind of just like over the top and throwing your head back and then like back to like being super serious. And Marta Kaufman, who's one of the co-creators of Friends, David Crane, was like, that's too much. No one's going to believe that's too wacky. And then I know how these tape nights go because you're in front of a live audience and like they will change things. They'll just like, they'll figure out what works in the moment. And it was one of those things where you're doing the scene and then you heard from across the stage, Marta, I love that I'm telling your story too.
No, I love it.
But like Marta calls to you like Shields, do the thing.
Put it back in.
Put it back in. And so you do it.
I felt like the Macy's Day Parade balloon, like, oh,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. You know, because you don't often get your instincts respected and you know, and does it.
And sometimes it's like your instincts are wrong.
Right?
It does happen.
Oh, it happens. But at that moment, I was like, okay, they already have the straight one in the can. So if this sucks,
They can just use the other
they'll
one.
at least use the other one, right? So I thought, okay. And, you know, I went like crazy and it changed everything. I mean, all these guys in suits, like 20 minutes later, we're all walking in. And I thought, like, oh, it must be a tour. Those people are in, like, they're getting a tour of the facility. I don't know, like I'm in an insane asylum. And then they were executives.
Yeah.
And they brought all the executives out of their offices to come in and, like, scout me. Which I had I thank God I didn't know any of that was happening. It was so...
Right. While you were on set at Friends, they were already like saying we should make our sitcom.
Yeah, they all came down en masse.
Oh my God.
Because after that laugh, people kind of went,
Oh,
"Jeez, there's what? That is,
places
we
we didn't know."
never understood that."
Oh, interesting.
Thank you so
I
much.
adore you for doing this. I've been wanting to do this for so long. I feel like
I'm
we've
so
been
glad
trying to
it
do
worked.
it for a while. This episode of Dinner's on Me was recorded at Cafe Cluny in New York City's West Village. Next week on Dinner's on Me, you know him from The Punisher, The Walking Dead, The Bear. He's currently starring on Broadway in Dog Day Afternoon. It's John Bernthal. We'll get into his intense, no BS approach to acting and how he brings such raw humanity to every character he plays.